You don't have any more. Let me say that. Please do not stand by your chair. Move around. Move around.
They're practicing, we're still waiting on some.
I don't think they're ready yet, so. All right. Oh, hello. Like I just showed up all of a sudden. All right. We're glad you're here. I'm good. It's good to be here. It's good to speak up in the morning, so never forget that. Good to be breathing air. You know, on the green side of the ground. Anyway, today is not our Christmas service. We sing a few Christmas carols. Next Sunday will be our actual official quote-unquote Christmas service. So please be here. Try if you can to bring somebody with you. Anybody, everybody, your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, anybody that you can bring that needs to come just be a part of the celebration of Jesus' arrival on planet Earth. The biggest moment in the history of humanity, really. Because if he hadn't come, he could have done the things he did. So that is the moment. Anyway, that's why they make these Advent calendars with 25 things, and people don't even know why they're doing it, some of them, but we do. We're counting off the days because that arrival of Jesus is so amazing, incredible. There aren't words to explain what that means to the world, to all of us. Anyway, Wednesday night, schedule's a little bit different. The time is the same. Listen carefully. We are going caroling. We are going to sing Lorraine Gillespie. So we need adults to drive. Kids cannot drive unless they're 21, and of course they're not kids anymore. Right? I know I didn't grow up to about 45. That's questionable. So anyway, you got to be 21 to drive a car and haul any of our kids. So, but we need adults, little people, and teenagers, and anybody, really anybody you can bring. And we'll just go and encourage Lorraine. You know, she lost her husband only about 2 weeks ago, and she's been extremely sick. And almost gave up on her, but they don't know her. Cats have 9 lives, and she's got like 15. So anyway, we're going to hopefully encourage Lorraine, so it's an important night Wednesday. The time will be the same. We'll meet at 6:30. Hopefully we'll be out here by 20 till 7, and we'll be back here by 7:45. We have to keep that schedule because of kids. Now listen to me carefully. I know everybody's not here that needs to be here right now to hear this, but we went over this real thoroughly Wednesday night. If you're coming and you have minor kids with you that are not yours, you've got to have their parents' consent. There's a form laid on the table right under the clock back there. Parents just have to sign and say, we have permission to take their kids off this property. Because when we get all ready to go Wednesday night, if we have any kids that do not have parental consent, they can't go. And they'll have to sit here with an adult until we get back. We don't want that to happen. So this mostly applies to teenagers, which we talked to on Wednesday. Any of you teenagers that are here, remind your friends if you know they don't have parents that come Wednesday night. A lot of them don't have parents here. Most of them don't. So they all have got to have a permission slip signed. And those of you that bring like a whole mob of little kids with you, you got to make sure, is this one mine? Oh yeah, that was mine. This one's not, so I need a permission slip for that one. Any questions? It's not complicated, it's just easy to forget. And I'm not going to be able to remind you again after today. So the best way to handle it is, if you're a parent, you come too. We might be the only group still Christmas caroling around these parts. I don't know. I'm not talking about choirs and things like that. I'm talking about going out and singing to somebody. So it's real important. Anyway, so Wednesday night, classes will not meet, but we will all go out together and we're going to be sharing the gospel through these songs. And I think we've got, missing some of our little people this morning. We did the best we could. They've been practicing on the songs. So Mom, why don't you go ahead and bring everyone up now? Are they ready? Is that why you're standing there?
Sorry, ready?
Ready? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, while the kids are coming up, I want to thank all of you that have been coming on Wednesdays. We've had a tremendous turnout on Wednesday night. It's just been great. And you're really missing out something when you're not here. So, Mike, we're going to do something that might help. Turn the lights off out there in the house. I think the kids will feel a little better. They don't have to look at anybody, really. Kids, just pretend there's nobody out there. You just sing this to God. Yes, Jesus. So, okay. This is some kind of sort of funny song that they've been working on the last 2 or 3 weeks. Right, because I like things to be centered. Everybody, kids, all step to your left. If they know left and right, step to your left a little more. Okay, that's good. A little more down here. One down this way. Step to your left. Can you help them? Step to your left. Step to your left. There you go. That's pretty good. All right. Give them a hand before they start. I have no... Kids, remember, kids turn around and look at me. Sorry, guys. Remember we said, promise you a treat, you do really well. So just sing. Nobody cares how it sounds. They just like to watch you do it. I mean, that feels really weird. No, it's fun. I used to have to do this. I know what you feel like. I can remember standing there thinking, I want to run. Anyway, I'm still doing it. That's right. We may end up doing this. You may never get away from it. Okay, now we're going to start all over. Clap one more time for us. Thank you all. A lot of these kids have never sang up in front of a group of people ever, so it's a little scary. And I don't think they had the entire crew, so that makes me even honored. Anyway, thank you kids. Good. There's your treat. Plus, on top of that, you're going to get a whole bunch of other goodies this morning. Because Jesus is having a birthday party today. These adults are going to wish they were back there with you. They're out here listening to me talk. Anyway. All right, we're going to take this back down a little bit. We're going to prayer listen. I'll remind you one more time because I know people are still, we're not jumping on your case. It's easy to do. People are still walking up to Judas saying, "Can you put so-and-so on the prayer chain?" Most of you know how long you're going to remember something like that. You know, a dozen things are going to happen before she has the opportunity to do that. So text everything to her. That way she can see it and print it. It makes it easier. Just don't let you read these, you can see them. Okay, and then let's look at our other list. Okay, as you can see, we have a long list. Be clear if you want the person you're asking for prayer for on the list that stays all the time, never changes unless we add to it. It eventually is going to be 2 pages, but that's okay. Or if they just need to be temporarily on the list, because it makes a difference as far as us keeping up with things. So the first list you looked at are immediate issues that have just happened or about to happen. These are people here that just need our prayers on a continuing basis, and most of you are aware of this situation. I want to thank you for praying for me. I don't really give out prayer requests hardly ever for myself, but really it doesn't have anything to do with me. In the big picture, it's about the play. If God is willing, the practice will start here 3 weeks from today. The problem is I don't know what play that's going to be. One play only needs 12 people, one needs 50, and one needs 100. So we're going to be putting the word out, and you may say, well, you can't decide what play. You have no earthly idea. Explain Wall Street to me. I'm not saying it's that complicated, but for me it is, all right? There are a million issues. We do this, we can't do that because of this, and that because of this, and this because of that. And it's very, very involved. And it doesn't help when I get an old friend that calls me up and says, I've had 2 dreams in the last 3 weeks about being in a brand new play and it was a disaster. So, but that just makes me want to do that play. I'm sorry. If God wants to tell me something in a dream, He's going to tell me. I mean, I know you're watching, brother. I appreciate it, but I can't go by every dream I hear about. I wouldn't be here this morning. I can tell you that probably. But anyway, just pray for me because it's a hard decision, and I'm working on it every day, night and day, literally, night and day. I have been for weeks now, but actually since Jerusalem ended in April, I've been working on this. So I need your prayers. It's very challenging emotionally, believe me, spiritually, because I get attacked. I'm trying to do this stuff, and it's challenging physically because I wake up all the time. You know, I'm working on the play. I can't help it. It's just how my brain works. It just will not stop doing this. You know, so one day when God says, okay, that's enough, He's got to take me out. Okay, so it should make it real clear to me. Anyway, thank you for that, because those prayers are they're not really for me. It's about me in that sense, but it's about everybody that's going to be involved in this. And all the thousands of people that are going to be reached, Lord willing. So keep it in your prayers. I will mention one other thing. I told you over and over, and if you're new here, I rarely say anything about money, but I don't have a choice right now. The offering last week was $300. $300, okay? Can you even feed your family on that, let alone run a church on that? So please pray about it. And I did something, I'll confess to you. I gave 200 of it away to a homeless person. So the offering ended up being $100. And then a little more came in later in the day, but not very much. So please pray about it. You can only give what you can give. I just will not preach sermons about money, but I will mention it when it's an issue. Because we can't keep robbing the other ministry to feed this one. Because that other ministry may not always be here. This church has to stand on its own. You know? It's kind of been helped all along. We're one of the few churches, probably the only church in this county that has not had to buy a building. The building was bought by Power and Light Productions, and all the plays that we do, and paid for. And so the church is in here rent-free, which is great. But sometimes I wonder if it was really that good for us in the long run. You know? Anyway, turn it into a sermon now, so I'll shut up. Just be praying about it. If God leaves it on your heart, we could have an extra offering next week, but for some reason I feel like, I don't know, I might be wrong. Maybe It's not the answer this time. Just going to lay it out in front of you so you know the need. All right. We're going to have our communion time and lighting candles. Some of them are already lit up here. I've gone to lighting my candles ahead of time because I never get a chance to light any otherwise. So these are people that you are trying to reach for the Lord. Maybe light a candle for somebody you're determined to get here next Sunday. Some nice people come on Christmas when they won't come otherwise. And also use this time to have your communion if you could. All right, just search the Lord for Him this morning. Moving in our midst, worship You, worship You. You are here, working in this place. Worship You, worship You. You are here, moving in our midst. Because everything around you will always be sort of insane this time of year. And as we approach next Sunday and next Monday, you know, it's easy to forget, you know, what Christmas is about and how not only should we act like the people of Jesus on Christmas Day during that season, but it should be all year round. Well, that's even a greater challenge. Because sometimes it seems like we're challenged mostly this very week, you know. We got family issues. Sometimes you've got to do Christmas in 3 or 4 places. You know, you eat more turkey, and you're going to turn into a turkey, you're afraid. And I know, it gets a little crazy. But this is the highlight of my morning right here. Sulfur water. Not bad, but it's hot. I'll tell you that. Keep that in mind if you got that kind of water going. Anyway, I read this thing this week. Somebody asked the question, do you have to know Jesus to be saved? Is that how it goes? I'm going to read this wrong. Diane's not in here. Yeah, you have to know Jesus to be saved. And he said, brother, you got to know Jesus to go to Walmart. And it's true. I almost was killed yesterday in Walmart. Actually, what happened was, it really wasn't Walmart, but we did get there too, I believe. I've sort of forgotten. This going to all these stores for men, it just kind of all melts into molten lava or something, you know. We just come apart, you know. We think it can be done in 10 minutes. Women think you need a couple of weeks. So anyway, there's always the clash of the sexes here. But anyway, we went to Sam's, and I'm right here, and I decided to do a quick U-turn, going like this. And I just missed this old guy right behind me, and he just looked at me and said, I said, I'm sorry, I did not even know you were there. He just gave me a glare. I thought a couple of things that you shouldn't think. And Merry Christmas to you too. And he went on. That wasn't the end of it. I mean, we're in Sarasota, so we go to a Publix. I almost hit him again. In the Publix. You know, so he thinks we were following him. Maybe you should have seen his face that time. You know, it was like Ebenezer Scrooge when Christmas Past showed up. And he was just astonished. And he wasn't any more surprised than we were to think that we ran into the same guy in 2 different stores and almost ran him over both times. And I didn't say anything that time. Yeah, I did. I said, I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry, I'm just sorry. You don't know how sorry I really am. I'm a sorry person. And I tried to run over. I say old people. Anyway, you know, but that's how it went. And so it's interesting. Saw something else I thought was a little clever, and it could cause a, once again, a war between men and the women, but it said if the wise men had been wise women instead, they would have stopped and asked for directions. They would have got to the stable, delivered the baby, cleaned the stable, made a casserole, and there would be at last peace on earth. Anyway, the kind of wisdom we usually leave to Marlon to bring us, but those were just too good. I had to hang on to them. Last week, if you remember, we talked about the fact that I don't think there's anything else I can really say about giving or Christmas that I haven't said over the last several decades to some of the same people. And you begin to feel like you just, well, as they say, they used to say in the old days, preaching to the choir. Nobody knows what that means anymore because churches don't really have choirs. But the choir was always there, even if everybody else skipped out. The choir leader told them, "Choir, you better be here. You're going to be dead. You don't be here." And so the choir is always there to preach to. Well, the choir is missing, and I can make the band stand up there. All I'm saying is, I don't think I can teach you to give. Maybe somebody can. I think it's academic to a certain point. But in my opinion, everybody, my opinion, it is more a matter of the heart. When you are moved, you already know that you should give. Everybody kind of knows that in general. Now there are a few Ebenezer Scrooges around that have stumped it out so, you know, down to powder on the floor that maybe they're not their hearts can't even be touched, but we kind of inherently know, that we should give. The Bible teaches us we should give. In Malachi, these are the academic side of it in a sense, and it's a spiritual thing too. Malachi actually does say, bring in the first fruits of your harvest and give them to me, and see if I don't open the floodgates of heaven and give you a blessing too great that you can't contain it. Yeah. I'm really glad I learned that as a little kid. I told you I grew up poor, and I did. I just didn't know I was poor. That's why when I bought some of those jeans, like some of you are wearing today, I have a pair, I know everybody looks at me like I'm weird. I don't really care, okay? I'm going to wear what I want to wear. That's not totally true. I really want to wear my black hat here on Sunday morning, but I don't want to offend anybody, so it's kind of like eating meat offered to idols. I just choose not to wear it for the most part. But, I don't know. Grew up poor, and still, it was my older brother that was killed, who had become a preacher when he was 18, and I was basically 9 at that point. And he told me you should give a 10th of your money away. Well, good grief, a 10th of my money. I had a little cufflink box. Remember those? It opened and it squeaked. It's little boxes you hoped your dad would give you, because back then everybody had to wear cufflinks and a suit when they went to church. We all had them, even though we didn't have enough money to eat on during the week. We all had our suit on Sunday morning. 5 kids. Well, my sister didn't wear a suit, but she had her dress on and her bow in her hair. But anyway, oh man, I learned it then. I remember sitting one Sunday in the balcony. I don't know how I got away with this. With my older brother and my other older brother and sister, all my cousins. A couple of them were renegades. I don't know if they ever came back, but we were all in the balcony in one row. And we had started a club. And we collected money at this club. I'm not going to go into the club. We had several different clubs. The theme of the club changed, often. But I remember the Sunday morning, we dumped the tithe in to the offering for the money that the club had. And it was all change. I don't even know if there was $1 there. But I remember it being one of the biggest moments. And I remember from then on, and I say this with no pride or boasting, I'm just telling you, I understand how giving is hard. And I know I'm talking about money at the moment, but it's not a sermon about money. Just have to use that illustration sometimes to make a point. But I learned then what God meant in Malachi. I started giving 1/10, and most of the time, the most money I had was a dime. It was usually in pennies that I found on the floor or in the couch, or my mom handed me back when a penny was actually, do they have them still? I'm not sure, anyway. So, I know for someone that hasn't really given to the ministry, the Lord's work, in any way, maybe or financially, and I'm not pointing my fingers at anybody. I do not keep track of what people give here. I try to never see it. If I have occasionally seen it because somebody hands me something, to turn in, and I do that. But had I not learned it as a little kid, it would have been really hard for me. Because I raised 4 kids on a youth minister and preacher salary in churches, all except for one were poor. And so there was never a ton of money. But God always gave us what we needed. He just did. Understand when Malachi says, bring your first fruits. And here's what we do a lot of times. I'm lying this morning. Tell a lie. Lord, forgive me. I don't preach about money, and here I am. Got off track. But it's really not about money. That's just what Malachi talks about. See if God will not open the floodgates of heaven. You need to understand that what is preached in many ministries around the country today is if you give, you're going to become wealthy. Now, I'm telling you, I can start naming the churches in this county that preach that message. It's basically been labeled the prosperity gospel. I don't think people are going to hell over it, but it's something you should stop and ponder. If seriously, I have gone down to several of the Caribbean islands to do little mission projects, and if this is true, that when you give to God, He will make you wealthy, I want to know why all these people are the poorest people I've ever seen. Because they love Jesus more than most people I've ever been around. So he never said it would be money. He didn't say it wouldn't be. Some of us, he knows better. We don't know how to handle money. We wouldn't be responsible with it. Some of us, people just get rich through the ways of the world. The Bible says God causes rain to fall on the good and the evil. So everybody has the opportunity, to do all those things. But let me just jump off of there. This is about giving, teaching somebody to give. That's kind of the academic side of it in a sense. The reason I believe it's a thing of the heart, think about the time the apostles and Jesus were in the temple and they were watching people give. And back then they had metal, they were so vain, they were so self-righteous. And big metal containers, so you could hear, they didn't have dollar bills or any kind of paper money. They had these containers. I've never been able to really find this, but my opinion, only me, worth about 5 cents, is that they used a metal container. You could say, well, they thought maybe a clay pot would break, but the coins were really small, just like ours. I think they wanted to hear the money clanking in those big containers. And they watched, wealthy person dump a bunch of stuff in, and apostles or everybody, wow, that's really something. And then here comes the widow, and you know the story, the widow's mite. I think there's 2 stories. Correct me if I'm wrong, because sometimes I forget some of these little things we don't talk about very often. I think there's one that talks about a widow with 1 mite, and one that talks about a widow with 2 mites. I don't know. It might be either one. Let's just say it's 1 or 2. It's the same message. She put it in, and I've got some mites. I'm not saying mice now. We have some of those right now too, so watch around you. But our doors get left stand open a lot with kids, but the mite is so small, you could drop it, and it would hardly make any noise in a metal container. And it blew the apostles away when Jesus said that she gave more. She gave more because she gave. He said these other people gave out of their abundance. They had a lot, so they took some and gave it. She gave all she had, according to that story. Now, that borders on being a thing of the heart. Academically, intellectually, we know it's something we should learn and know. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 24 says, consider, listen, don't try to look it up because I'm only using 1 sentence. Last week we used 1 sentence. God so loved the world that he gave. That's Christianity in a nutshell. Okay, if we can just learn that and try to live that. In Hebrews, Paul said, consider how we can stir one another up to love and good works. And that's the same one verse where he says, don't forsake getting together. And even more so when you see the day approaching. There's another reason why people who say, I don't need to ever go to church, need to be in a service, because we're supposed to get together and consider how we can stir one another up in love and good works. Hard to do that if we never see one another. Okay. Anyway, so I decided this year I was going to be reading you stories. Everybody likes to hear a story. And I found out most stories, even the ones you read for kids, the message is really for adults, a good part of the time. The old fairy tales, if you remember those, they're really not any good for kids or adults, but I remember a lot of them, people falling down, busting their head open, and all kinds of crazy, weird things happen. I don't know what Sadist wrote those. Thank you. Glad that tickled somebody. Well, there's that text where this guy said, I had a nightmare about a new play. Eat that one right now. Anyway, I don't take those things lightly. I live my life that way. I love this. This is very short. If you don't listen, you'll miss it. But this is about giving, and in my opinion, this is about giving respect. And showing, making people feel like that they have value. Making people know that what they're going through is important to you. Don't be the kind of person somebody's talking to you, you're going, yeah, okay, yeah, no. What? No? You know, this is the opposite of that. This kid writes, I heard my mother ask the neighbors for some salt. I guess that's back in the old days when you used to go over and borrow a cup of flour, you know, or a pinch of salt, I don't know. I heard my mother ask the neighbors for salt.
We're bad dogs.
But I knew that we already had salt in our house. Well, I asked her, why she asked the neighbors for salt when we already had our own? And this was her reply. Because our neighbors don't have much money. And they often ask us for something. From time to time, I also like to ask them for something small, economical, so that they feel that we need them too. And that way, they will feel more comfortable, and it will be easier for them to keep asking us for salt. So, you know, how you translate that into what giving is you remember all the words we brought up last week, empathy and, you know, and understanding, love and acceptance, forgiveness, and, you know, all the things that we try to give to people. That is giving somebody a sense of integrity, a sense of worth. It was saving them from embarrassment. Realize that's giving? We probably all did this when we grew up in school. So many teenagers have maybe done it. They still have cafeterias? The food's still awful, I assume? I hope none of you cook the food here, but what generally happened when the poor kid walked into the place where the tables are and drops his tray? Well, what happened in my school is everybody clapped. We all just clapped and laughed, and someone who already felt terrible felt even worse. You may say, they need to get over it. You don't know what they just came from that morning. Be really careful when you say things to people that are strong, or maybe they need to be said, but you don't know that they didn't just lose their mother, you know. But no kid who drops his tray, any more than any adult in a restaurant who decides, which I did about a year ago. I forget what restaurant we were at, some restaurant up in Lakeland, I think, and I knocked over a glass of water. I don't think I've done that in a couple of decades, but I did. And I can tell you right now, it doesn't feel good. It goes everywhere, and everybody looks at you, and you got to call, you know, the cleanup crew, clean up over on this table here, you know. The cute woman and the guy with the black hat, yeah, okay, the water's all over the place there. So, what this woman was doing was making sure her neighbor, because she was so poor and had to ask all the time, felt like she had something to give. It's a big deal. This next one is about Santa Claus, but it's not really about Santa Claus, so. But he is the subject in it, but that's not the lesson, so we're not learning about Santa. That is the framework. This is a story that actually happened. The other one, I assume, was a true story as well. I remember turning across town. I appreciate for my shaky hand. My family is blessed with almost every member essential trimmers. And I'm looking at these people, these doctors saying, are they really essential? Do I need these? And they come and go. When you're trying to pick out a play out of 3 plays. I remember tearing across town on my bike to visit Grandma on the day my brother dropped the bomb. There's no Santa Claus, Jared. Even dummies know that. My grandma was not the gushy kind, never had been. So I fled over to her that day because I knew she would tell me straight. I knew Grandma always told the truth. I knew that the truth was always what came out of her, because the truth was a lot easier when swallowed with one of her world-famous cinnamon rolls. I knew they were world-famous because Grandma said they were. Between bites, I told her everything. She was ready for me. No Santa Claus, she snorted. Ridiculous. Don't believe that. That rumor's been going around for years, and it makes me mad, plain mad. Now put on your coat, let's go. Go where, Grandma asked. I hadn't even finished my second world famous cinnamon roll. Where turned out to be the Kirby's General Store. This is an old story, obviously. The one store in town that had a little bit of just about everything. As we walked through its doors, Grandma handed me $10. We figured out this happened in the 90s, so that's how much money's changed by now, what you could do with it. But that was absolutely a bundle in those days. Take this money, she said, and buy something for someone who needs it. I'll wait for you in the car. She then turned and walked out of the store. I was only 8 years old. I'd often gone shopping with my mother, but never had I shopped for anything all by myself. The store seemed big and crowded, full of people scrambling to finish their Christmas shopping. For a few moments, I just stood there, confused, clutching that $10 bill, wondering, what do I buy and who on earth do I buy it for? I thought of everybody I knew. My family, my friends, my neighbors, kids at school, the people who went to my church. I was just about thought out when suddenly I thought of Bobby Decker. He was a kid with messy hair who was always dirty and poor. He sat right behind me in Mrs. Pollock's second grade class. Bobby Decker didn't have a coat. I knew that because he never went out of recess during the wintertime. His mother always wrote a note telling the teacher that he had a cough, but all of us kids knew that Bobby Decker did not have a cough. He didn't have a coat. I figured the $10 bill, growing excitement, I would buy a coat for Bobby Decker. I settled on a red corduroy one that had a hood on it. It looked really warm, and he would like that, I thought. And when I got up to the counter, the woman says, "It's a Christmas present for someone." She asked me very kindly as I laid the $10 on the counter. "Yes, ma'am," I replied, "it's for Bobby." The nice lady smiled at me as I told her about how Bobby really needed a good winter coat. I didn't get any change back, but she put the coat in a bag, smiled again, and wished me Merry Christmas. That evening, Grandma helped me wrap the coat. A little red tag fell out of the coat. And Grandma just grabbed it quickly and tucked it in her Bible. In Christmas paper and ribbons, and wrote or wrapped the present in Christmas paper, "To Bobby from Santa Claus." Grandma said that Santa always insists on secrecy. Then she drove me over to Bobby Decker's house, explaining as we went that I was now and forever officially one of Santa's helpers. Grandma parked down the street from Bobby's house, and she and I crept noiselessly and hid in the bushes by the front sidewalk. Grandma gave me a nudge, said, "All right, Santa, get going." Took a deep breath. I dashed to the front door. I threw the present down on a step, pounded on the door, and flew back to the safety of the bushes with Grandma. Together, we waited, breathlessly, in the dark, for the front door to open. Finally it did, and there stood Bobby. 50 years later, those years have not dimmed the thrill of those moments spent shivering beside my grandma in Bobby Decker's bushes. That night I realized that those awful rumors about Santa Claus were just what Grandma said. They were ridiculous. Santa was alive and well, and we were on his team. I still have the Bible that my grandma had. It still has the tag in it. Every now I look at it and it says 1995. I don't know who gave the most in that situation. Doesn't matter. Everybody gave. And all kinds of people were blessed. And here we are, 50 years later, being blessed by something
That's when they talk about paying it forward. It's about as plain as it can get. I'm wondering the same thing for you, but if you're wondering how I'm going to hold this still enough to read it, I'm going to try. Becky, next week when I ask for coffee, call me now. It does not help this. I have a plan. I like all these stories a lot. Anything that I bring to you is something that I've thought a lot about and really, really like. I always know immediately whether it's worthy being heard or not. This is the best this morning, the last one. I got serious about Jesus around 1970. And we were in the height of the Jesus movement. So if you know what that was, because you were around during that time, or maybe you saw the movie The Jesus Revolution. That is the true story about the Jesus movement that started in California in the hippie culture. And from then on I was called a hippie. There's nothing that is the same. The hippie culture basically taught not working. They taught community, I understand, but in most cases people really didn't work. All I did was work. I worked my way through college, I worked my way through high school, worked my way to buy the first junky car I ever had. But my hair, God forbid, was touching my ears. And then it got down to about right here. I remember having a serious talk with my sister. Your hair, look how long it is. Well, to me it meant nothing. I was just trying to be cool and fit in a little bit. Because I thought the Jesus people were pretty cool, because I got to know a lot of them, spent time with them, as the movement spread across the country and finally got to Illinois. I remember my home church, of course. The whispers started. They already knew I was some radical who would meet together with kids on Friday night and pray. And they were thinking, yeah, right, they're praying. We actually were. We're meeting on Friday night in the park and having communion. Right. We actually were. I did my first nativity scene when I was in high school. Our church would do nothing really with teenagers. And so I was a teenager, I was about 16. We went and wrestled, I don't know if you wrestle sheep or not. But we had sheep and we had them in the back seat of my friend's car. I will recommend you never do that. Some animals, yeah, maybe. Sheep, not a good idea. For many reasons. I'm going to stop. Anyway, I directed my first play when I was in high school because I wanted to do a play and nobody would do a play, so I just did a play and found kids and we did it. I relate to the person in this story. Because, and some of you have experienced this yourself, where you felt like you went into a church building and they look at you like you have three eyes. Like you're the three-eyed raven on Game of Thrones. Like you've got an extra nose or something. Because I remember when I first stopped wearing a suit, because I realized this isn't about putting a suit and tie on. That does not make you a Christian. Because I'm looking around at a lot of people with suits and ties and they don't act exactly the way I think you're supposed to. I'm not saying I did, but clothes do not make you that. Amen. And hair, you say, well, the Bible says it's a sin for men to have long hair. You gotta study these scriptures in their context and their culture and understand that. If we follow all those rules, then right now, all the guys should have a little cap on it and all of you women should have your head completely covered. So you can't just take the Bible and isolate scripture without understanding what it meant. If the woman's hair, glory, quote unquote, is in her hair, if that's the only glory you've got, what does that mean anyway? It's a cultural thing, and I haven't studied that word to know what that meant. If it meant makes her very beautiful or whatever. So anyway, I grew up as many of you did. Guys cut their hair off short. If you got short hair, that's fine. If you got long hair, that's fine with me too. You got purple hair, I don't care. And I wasn't talking about you, Ray Renee, just because it happens to be red. I'm not noticing that right now. Marlon's got red hair this morning. Well, no, that's not red hair. But anyway, this could have been me. And I actually set myself up to do this one Sunday. I was already living in Wauchula. I was a pastor, and I was going to go do this at a particular church. And for me, it would have ended up being a disaster when it caused a lot of trouble, probably for the most part. Let me read the story. His name is Bill. That's why you know it's not me. That's my brother, Billy Graham. You might have heard of him. His name is Bill. He had wild hair. So he wears a t-shirt with holes in it, jeans, and no shoes. The guy who actually started the Jesus movement. The one that, you know, all the songs we sing here most of the time in church, except for the hymns, you can take them all the way back to this guy, barefooted guy in San Francisco. They don't like that, but that's when Christian music that caused the change in it that got me tossed out of more than one place and many, many other people. And now we sing worship songs that are a little more to our taste. Not that the hymns aren't great, I still love most of them, the ones that I know. So anyway, had wild hair, wore a t-shirt with holes in it, jeans and no shoes. This was literally his wardrobe from his entire 4 years of college. I can't relate to that. He is brilliant. I cannot relate to that. Kind of esoteric and very, very bright. Leave it alone. Can't relate to that either. All right, it's all been said. He became a Christian while he was in college. Across the street from the campus is a well-dressed, very conservative church. They want to develop a ministry. Think about this. They want to build a ministry for students, but are not sure how to go about it. So one day, Bill, he didn't know this, Bill decides to go to church there. He walks in with no shoes, jeans, his t-shirt, and his wild hair. The service has already started, so he starts down the aisle looking for a seat. Been there. Get somewhere, there's no seats. Church is completely packed. He can't find a seat anywhere. By now, people are starting to really look a bit uncomfortable. Other people. But no one says anything. Bill gets closer and closer and closer to the front, trying to find a seat. When he realizes there are no seats, so he just sits down in the aisle on the floor. Although perfectly acceptable behavior at a college fellowship group, trust me, this had never happened in this church building before. By now, the people are really uptight and the tension in the air is thick. About this time, the minister realizes that from way back at the church, a deacon is slowly making his way toward Bill. The deacon is in his 80s, has silver gray hair, and wears a three-piece suit. He is a godly man, very elegant, very dignified, and very courtly. He walks with a cane, and as he starts walking toward this boy, everyone is thinking that you can't blame him for what he's about to do. How can you expect a man of his age and his background to understand some college kid barefooted on the floor? It takes a long time for the man to reach the boy. The church is utterly silent. The preacher stopped talking, except for the clicking of the man's cane. All eyes are focused on him. You can't even hear anyone breathing. The minister can't even preach the sermon until the deacon does what he has to do. And now they see this elderly man with his three-piece suit. Drop his cane on the floor. And with great difficulty, lowers himself and sits down next to Bill and worships with him so he won't be alone. There were some who didn't agree, didn't approve, but most were choked up with emotion. When a minister gained control, this is what he said. What I'm about to preach today, you will never remember. What you have just seen here, you will never forget. I've seen things like this happen in real life. They don't usually turn out that way. I saw deacons in my own church remove some people. They weren't making a scene. They were dirty, they smelled from yards away. Their clothes were terrible. And again, they didn't do anything to disrupt. It was just too embarrassing for some people. They asked them to leave. I remember going back to my own church growing up. You must think my church was terrible. It wasn't. It was a good church, but it was stuck in its conservative keyhole kind of look at everything. Because they couldn't imagine that I could really be a Christian. Because I had long hair, which was not even as long as it is now. And I wore an army jacket. Because that was what everybody wore in those days. That's what you did. My army jacket, I didn't earn it, like Randy or George or any other people in the service. It was just one I got at Goodwill, and I had it covered with little buttons that said Jesus. But somehow there was something wrong in that. I decided I'm going to change it one day. I went back there. I sat in about the third or fourth row. And they started in on a hymn that was a little faster, kind of. We were moving, you know. I stood up. I clapped for about a full minute. No, actually, I clapped for the entirety of the song. Not one other person ever did it. And I sat down. The miracle was nobody asked me to leave. Not that day. Guys, I'm worn out with the church in the sense that we would continue to judge people as we do. And I know for those of you that want to say, you know, what about obedience? Of course obedience is required. But if church becomes just the keeping of rules, what do you do? That's what the Jews had when Jesus came. He said, you guys know all the commandments, you keep them. Good, that's wonderful. But there's something wrong with this picture. Because I heal a man who's never walked in his life and I do it on Sabbath, you're going to kill me, and if you get a chance, probably kill him too. Wow, something really wrong with that picture. Man, Jesus came to say, not, would you break God's rules? Would you please just start breaking them? He didn't come to say that. He came to put them on a different level. He really didn't say it was all about keeping all the rules, even though we should try to live the holiest life we can. But we will never be holy, because that is a gift from God. We just can't be holy. We have a holiness that we borrow from Jesus that comes in here. When I look back at all the years I've been doing this, I've broke many of God's laws, as have you. And God was disappointed. Sometimes I paid consequences for it. And God would show me the error of my ways. But I know now, after looking back at all these years and all the people I've been around, what God wants more than anything is my love, my devotion, my commitment to Him. That will cause me to want to give. That will cause me to want to do what He has. Please understand, You can't expect people who are not at a certain level to be there because you think you are. And be cautious about that, because you say, trying to get a speck out of this guy's eye, you got a log in your own eye. Take care of that, then get the speck, or so you can see clearer to help with the speck. He's just basically saying, look at yourself. Don't be so quick to condemn and judge. And yet there's not a week that goes by that I don't hear something really ugly somebody said or done to someone else. I mean, even in this little group I'm talking about, in all my experiences around me, but when I hear about it among a family of believers, and I've probably been the person that has done it sometimes. Sure I have. Giving is a thing of the heart. The band come up. I mentioned it last week. You remember the story of the rich young ruler? We don't know what he ruled. We don't know if he was just ruler over his family, his business, ruler over the synagogue. We don't know. Jesus said, obey the commandments, basically, paraphrasing. He said, I know all the commandments, but I've obeyed them since I was a child. He said, you need to do one thing more. Sell everything you have and give it away. Give money away. He wanted to be a part of the kingdom. Now, does that mean we have to sell everything we own and we're not going to be a part of the kingdom? Of course it doesn't mean that. But for this man, Jesus looked straight in his heart. It's an implication, but it's very obvious. The Bible says he left in great sorrow because he had much. In other words, he could not give up the riches. They meant too much to him. There was something wrong with his heart. We all got spiritual heart disease to some degree. Sometimes it gets the best of us. Anyway, if you want to have a common prayer with the Lord, you need to make a decision, you can come on up here. I know there aren't very many of us, but you never know what's going on with people. Whatever you feel like you need to pray about or hand over to the Lord, you can do that this morning. Let's stand, let's sing. Lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Take your tired soul, your weary mind, and lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Take your words to the foot of the cross and lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Lay your burden Don't forget this one thing, everybody, as you leave. There are a lot of people out there that will come to church at Christmas time that will never come any other time. Please use that to make that a good thing. Reach out to them for next Sunday. We'll be doing a lot of praise and worship, and we'll have specials. I don't think we have many right now, but if you sing and you would like to do a song, please talk to me as soon as you possibly can. And we'll have as many as we possibly can. You know, we have to be aware of our kids back here, so we can't go extremely long because we have to be concerned about those teachers. But I don't usually go out and try and track people down. It's just too hard to do. Text me, give me a call if you have a song that you think would be really good at Christmas time. We'd like to do it next week. I think that's it. And don't forget, parents, we'll have Santa here after church next week. As soon as we start the closing song, he will come out and come up to this place. We'll chair there for him. And all your kids, little kids, can come up and they will get goodies from Santa. Let's pray. Father, change our hearts. Make them better, make them pure. Make them what you want them to be. Forgive us for failing, Lord, and disobeying so often the most simple and most vital commandments. To love you with all of our heart, soul, and mind, and love our neighbor the way we love ourselves. Thank you, Jesus. We pray in your name. Amen. You are beautiful, as a